What if events had unfolded slightly differently in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man? What if Peter Parker and Harry Osborn got bit by the spider? What do you think would have happened? Well, we come full circle, my fellow watchers. Welcome back to the finale of this incredible series. We've looked at 4 parts already, and we've seen what's happening in the background, what Norman is planning to do. He's trying to, turn Harry against Peter. Harry Osborn doesn't even know that his father now has the Venom symbiote. If you've seen the latest part, I would highly recommend to check it out, refresh your mind, because things are getting crazy, and I cannot thank you enough for supporting me on all my platforms. It really means a lot, especially on Instagram. We're getting a lot more people, a lot more engagement on there, and I do want to say thank you so much for the latest support. If you guys want to support me further to seeing more videos like this, do make sure to follow my Patreon. It's starting at just $1 a month. And if you would like to work with me on the channel on, certain what ifs, we actually have tiers for that. That is on the Patreon, so I would highly recommend that you take a look. But that being said, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, let's get back into this what if. But before I do want to say that we're going to be doing one more thing on this channel. I do want to confirm 2 things here. This is the final part. I do want to confirm 2 things. What if Mary Jane got bit by the spider? The complete what if storyline will be coming soon. It's going to add that part 4 that we've never seen before, as well as part 5 and 6. And I'm going to be doing a what if Peter Parker, Harry Osborn, and Mary Jane Watson got bit by the spider. That's going to be a brand new series that will be coming later this year, so make sure you check that out when it releases. With that being said, let's get into this. The incident of Peter and Harry saving the passengers of the train had rectified Spider-Man's image. Many people had already spotted differences on the suit and technique of the fake Spider-Man that was Norman and the real deal. The incident of the train was all the confirmation they needed to know that someone deliberately wanted to falsify Spider-Man's image. Due to this, Spider-Man and Silver Spider were now in good graces with almost everyone in the city, as individuals like J. Jonah Jameson had made it their lifelong dream to hate on them. Harry had decided that even though he would not be regularly fighting crime while donning the suit, he would not shy away from it again. He would not shy away from it ever again. When duty calls, I will be there, he told Peter. Since the train incident and their reconciliation, their friendship had grown stronger. Harry had decided that he would pull more of his resources into helping Peter fight crime. Harry had also been true to his word. He had cut ties completely from his father. Since the incident, he had not made any contacts with Norman. Life was going very well for both of them, and they wished that it would continue. Peter told Harry that he needed to still go and visit Uncle Ben and Aunt May, as his last attempt had been thwarted by Dr. Octopus. Harry told him that he could hold things down until he returned, and Peter was very elated, as it felt good getting a break once in a while. Peter immediately made plans for his journey, as he prayed that nothing would stop him this time. He immediately said goodbye to Harry as he left the lab. Location, the train. Time, 9:02 a.m. The next day, Peter immediately packed his bags and entered an available train. Peter decided that he would not carry his Spider-Man suit, as he felt that he needed to rest. Harry had also advised against it, as he stated that too much stress affected their powers. When Peter asked him how he knew that, he stated that he had been researching their abilities, using his DNA. He also stated that Norman utilized the stress factor in his serum, and that was what affected Peter's powers too. Peter had cheered him mockingly as a great researcher, but had he really still taken it seriously? This was why he was taking time off by going to see Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Immediately, the thought of Mary Jane came into his head, and he was immediately depressed. Peter decided that he would have to do something about that too. Peter concluded that it was time to tell her the truth about himself. That would have to wait until I get back, Peter said to himself. After some time, Peter arrived at his destination, and he walked in goofingly into Uncle Ben's home. He knew that they would be surprised and happy because he had not informed them of his visit. Immediately, Peter entered the house. They were so elated to see him as they let out screams of joy. Peter had not felt this type of love in a while, and he was glad that it had come. Location: Experimentation Grounds. Time: 9:18 p.m. Flint Marko's life was about to change. He was currently being chased by the police officers, and he entered into a private property in a bid to escape them. Flint Marko had just escaped from prison, and he went to see his daughter and wife. Once his wife discovered him, she freaked out. He was a bad influence on her daughter. Flint Marko's wife saw him as trash and never to be around their daughter. His wife threatened to raise an alarm, and Flint immediately escaped, using the window. Suddenly, as he came down, he heard police sirens, and sure enough, they were on his tail. It was at this point that he took off in order to escape. Flint Marko quickly ran towards the direction of trees, and the police officers came down from their cars and used their hounds. Flint had thought that it would be the end of the line until he saw the private property fenced around. He had immediately jumped the fence and entered the compound in a bid to escape. If it was any brighter, maybe he would have read the sign that stated that they were conducting highly risky experiments there. Flint Marko was pumping with adrenaline, and the only thing that was on his mind was to escape the police. This drive pushed him so much that he didn't even notice where he was going. In front of him was a tunnel filled with sand and other objects, and he fell into it. This was the experiment ground, and he had just gotten himself mixed up in it. The scientists were about to turn on the machine, but they were quickly contacted by the police officers, who stated that a highly dangerous criminal had escaped into their property. After much fuss, they allowed the cops to search their property. The cops could not find anything, as they did not believe that anyone was stupid enough to enter the particle accelerator, and Flint Marko was not a fool. If Flint Marko had knowledge of the future, he would have chosen that moment to scream for help, as the events that happened next altered his fate and body. After the cops had left, the scientists fired up the experimental particle accelerator and started the process. It was at that time that Flint Marko screamed for help, but there was nothing that could be done, as his voice was lost in the sand. The accelerator merged his atoms with the surrounding sand, and the experience was hell for Flint. This was because every atom of his entire body was being literally reformed. Flint felt his body structure being reformed, and the process was extremely painful. Flint's body was being pulled apart, and he knew that if that happened, it would be all over soon. The only thing that gave him the strength to maintain a consciousness was the thought of his daughter. While the experiment was going on, the scientists discovered that there was an individual inside the particle accelerator, and they were completely terrified. They quickly stopped the experiment, but when they went to check the accelerator, they did not discover a body. Location: the train station. Time: 9:07 a.m. Peter Parker was having a blast, and after getting advice on woman matters from Aunt May, he decided that he had to get Mary Jane back. Peter knew what he had to do. He had to come clean. As he was about to leave, Uncle Ben offered to drop him off at the train station. Their ride to the station was pretty much quiet, as Peter and him had already caught up on mostly everything during his stay. Once they had arrived and Peter was about to get out of the car, Uncle Ben held him back. He told Peter that he had something to tell him. This really worried Peter, as he thought that he had done something wrong. That moment with Uncle Ben served as one that Peter remembered forever. Uncle Ben told Peter that he had been watching him from afar. He told Peter that he was proud of his progress as a man. Uncle Ben then stated that Peter had something in his mind to tell him since, but he did not see a perfect time. "You are a man now, and with great powers come great responsibility," Uncle Ben told Peter, and he almost teared up. He told Peter to continue doing the good work, and even when he made mistakes, he should learn from them. "Go and get her," Uncle Ben told Peter, as he prompted him out of his car to go back and get Mary Jane. Peter had never felt so empowered. He felt as if his entire body system had been waiting to be enforced by this statement. "With great power comes great responsibility," Peter repeated throughout the train ride home. Mary Jane was at her apartment when Peter came knocking. Her first instinct was to run and hug him, but she held herself back because she was still angry at him. She hastily asked Peter what he can do, and his response stunned her. Peter told her that he came here to tell her the truth. Mary Jane was genuinely shocked, as she did not believe what she was hearing. Peter had decided to tell her about everything because, frankly speaking, he was tired. He was tired of always hiding. There were only 3 people that knew his secret identity, and one of them was dead, and the other was out to kill him. Peter needed someone he could trust and be open with, and Mary Jane was more than deserved to be that person. Mary Jane invited Peter inside, as she was eager to hear this big secret, and what always kept Parker so busy. On her part, MJ was not faring too well after Peter left. Even though she had gotten a big breakthrough in her Broadway acting, she still felt a deep empty void within her. John Jameson had actually been checking in on her. He made the absence of Peter more bearable, but Mary Jane knew that Peter could not be replaced. MJ concluded that this was how she felt, and it panged her of guilt any time that they were together. When he finally asked Mary Jane to be his girlfriend, she had refused. Any time she thought about it, she felt very cringy and sad for how she had refused. John had done the proposal in front of his father, J. Jonah Jameson, but Mary Jane just ran out on both of them. After that, she had called John to apologize, but she told him that she was not interested. If Peter Parker had not come to meet her today, she might have gone to see him within the week because she could not bear it anymore. Now in her room, she was grateful that she had not gone to see John, but to have Peter here with her now, after to reveal his secret to her. A tensed Mary Jane watched Peter, and he took a deep breath as he was looking for a way to tell her. Peter was also tense because he remembered the talk he had with Harry about telling Mary Jane. Harry had stated that if he told Mary Jane, that it would only endanger her life. Peter hoped that he was not making a big mistake. "I'm Spider-Man," Peter blunted out to Mary Jane rapidly before he could change his mind. The shock on Mary Jane's face was worthy of a movie award. Location: Experimentation Grounds. Time: 8 in the morning. Flint Marko could not be seen by mere human eyes. The experimental particle accelerator had made him that way. The accelerator had merged with him, with the surrounding sand, and it also gave him power over it. Flint Marko could not feel his body. He only had a sense of his consciousness, and that scared him. After the scientists had searched the particle accelerator without seeing anything, they decided that it was a false alarm. They concluded that maybe their device had a malfunction. After that, they had decided to leave the property, as it was enough for the night. In the morning, after they had left, grains of sand started coming together. That was Flint Marko trying to form a body, as his only drive was seeing his daughter again. Bodies of sand tried to form, but they quickly disappeared, as it was just too hard for Flint. Finally, Marko was able to form his body, and what he saw shocked him. He was made entirely of sand. In his mind, he was a monster, and he did not know how he could face his daughter again. This realization and the utter shock of what he was seeing caused Flint to start a sand hurricane. Flint challenged all of his anger, and frustrations into the hurricane as he made his way into the city. Location: Harry's lab. Time: 9 AM. When Peter was away, Osborn got very busy as he took on the job of Silver Spider fully. Harry went about the city saving lives of citizens. On that particular day, Harry saved the life of Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy was the daughter of Captain Stacy, and this event combined with the past heroics of the duo caused the mayor of the city to decide to celebrate them. The mayor declared that a day be named the Spider-Man Day, and he invited both Silver Spider and Spider-Man to the event. People were doubtful they wouldn't show up, but the mayor stated that the chances of them coming was high, as he would present the key of the city to them. Peter and Harry thought it was a joke until the day came, and then they decided to go. They stated that it would not hurt, and it would also help promote them in a good light. Peter joked about how it was relaxing to swing through the city without the cops at his tail, and Harry laughed. MJ was warmy about the idea, but she also thought as it would help promote them in a good image. Harry was not shocked when Peter told him that Mary Jane knew about their identity. He stated that he knew it would happen sooner or later. Peter had only told her that he was Spider-Man, but she quickly figured out that Harry was Silver Spider. She stated that everything now made sense. Peter's abrupt and sudden disappearances, and why he was always late. Mary Jane stated that she was just angry that Peter had not told her sooner. When Peter brought up the argument that he wanted to keep her safe, she told him that she could take care of herself. She also stated that ignorance of the fact was more dangerous as she cited the Green Goblin. Peter quickly agreed, and he was abruptly kissed. Parker was speechless as he tried to get some words out of his mouth. When Parker had asked her whether they were back together, she gave him a reply that filled him with extreme joy. "What do you think, Spidey?" Mary Jane had said as she giggled. "Peter, snap out of it," Harry said, as he was waving his hand over Peter's face. Parker quickly apologized and told him that he had gone through memory lane. When Harry asked him what he was thinking about, Peter blushed red, and Harry already knew the answer. "We still have to decide how we are going to attend the program, Loverboy," Harry told Peter. After that, they concluded their plans and they moved out to attend the ceremony. In both Peter and Harry's minds, the only person that would be able to impede the ceremony would be the Green Goblin. But they were so wrong. They were about to meet the Sandman. The ceremony was going very well until Flint Marko attacked. The townspeople wore Spider-Man costumes and masks. Even though they were donning more of the Silver Spider's costume, Peter did not mind, as it was still a beautiful sight. They had swung into the cheers of the people. After that, Gwen Stacy had come on stage to thank them. After that, the crowd promoted Silver Spider to kiss her, and he did. Peter was thanking his stars that he was not in such of a position as it would have made Mary Jane unhappy. After that, the Flint Marko problem started. Flint Marko had entered the city and he was wreaking havoc wherever he went. Marko used his control over sand, and he came as a hurricane of it. He was upturning cars and ripping buildings apart. This caused the police to raise an alarm. Peter and Harry quickly decided that it was their call to leave, and they did. They swung out of the ceremony as they made their way to the disturbance. When they got there, they saw something unsettling, and it confirmed the police reports. The tornado had a face. Peter and Harry then started to try and combat the creature, but it proved futile, as Flint Marko was not enough for them to hurt. Flint, on the other hand, was enjoying himself, as he started figuring his way around his new powers. He was finally able to form his fists, and he used them in plummeting both Peter and Harry. The battle was pretty much one-sided, and Sandman was on top. But luck suddenly shined on both Harry and Peter, as Flint threw Harry towards the road. He hit a fire hydrant, and it exploded. The resulting effect of this was drastic for Flint, as the water exploded in his face, and started turning him to mud. He screamed in agony as he was being destroyed. Harry and Peter quickly caught on that water was his weakness, and using the fire hydrants, they started bringing him down bit by bit. Flint was helpless, and he could not defend himself. For the second time in a short span of time, Flint Marko felt his chance of seeing his daughter would be completely gone. Flint did the only thing that was left for him to do. He pleaded. Flint Marko pleaded with Harry and Peter, and they were astounded that he was actually a human being. Flint told them his story and begged them to let him escape in order for him to see his daughter again. Something about his story touched Harry and Peter, and they turned a blind eye as they allowed him to flee. Their action was actually determined, as it made the news at the Daily Bugle. J. Jonah Jameson had a field day with the story, as he stated that Silver Spider and Spider-Man were allies with the brand new Sandman. Location: Norman Osborn's laboratory. Time: 11:46 p.m. Norman was obsessed with the black goo. He had been experimenting on it, and he discovered multiple astounding properties about it. He knew that the meteorite was sent as an answer to his prayer. Norman had also created multiple super soldiers using the prototype of his goblin suit. The only difference was that they would be controlled by him. Norman had not figured that part out yet, until the meteorite landed, and then he discovered that it was his solution. He discovered that he could attach the black goo to himself and the super soldiers. If his calculations were right, he would be able to control them too, through his mind. Norman had decided that today was the day to implement his experiment, and he immediately moved to make contact with the symbiote. As he moved towards it, the black goo leaped at him, and within moments, Norman was engulfed. He was now the Green Goblin, but with the Venom symbiote. Harry was very worried at what he saw on the news, and that was the reason for his current action. Harry had heard of a strange demon-looking creature that was wreaking havoc throughout the city. That news had got him suddenly worried, but it was increased by 1,000-fold when the reporter stated that the first location of the creature's destruction was his father's apartment. This was why Harry was currently on his way to his father's house, as he had heard that Bernard was in a scared state at the hospital. Harry immediately decided that he needed to check in on his father, even though he had vowed not to ever make contact with him again. J. Jonah Jameson of the Daily Bugle had already tagged the creature as Venom, as that is what it supposedly called itself. Harry had time to contact Peter, but he could not wait for him. Never in a million trials would Harry have guessed that his father was Venom. This was why he was caught off guard when Venom attacked. After a few moments, Harry was overpowered and Venom knocked him out. Venom was in total control of Norman's body, and he seemed to be in sync with the Green Goblin, as it maximized his negative qualities. The Venom symbiote quickly decided that it was time to put an end to Peter once and for all. He activated his super soldiers, as he also sent out to capture Mary Jane in order to lure Peter Parker and finally destroy him. Location: Aunt May's house. Time: 6:07 p.m. Peter had never been in such a dilemma and sorrow. He was with Aunt May when he saw that Harry and Mary Jane had been captured in the news. When he went out of his house with Uncle Ben, who insisted on following him, he did not know that he was just following Venom's plans. Once he had left, Venom had come in with his super soldiers, and he killed Aunt May. Once Peter had gotten the news, he was broken beyond repair, but his case was minutes compared to Uncle Ben. Peter swore to Uncle Ben that he would surely avenge the death of Aunt May, and with that, he would leave the house and find his way to Venom. The Symbiote Goblin had already sent his location to Peter, as he was expecting him. Finally, the spider would be squashed. Venom said with his tongue dangling out of his shark-toothed mouth, to the horror of both Mary Jane and Harry, who were tied up. Immediately, Spider-Man showed up. Symbiote Goblin quickly deployed the super soldiers. He had created about 100 of them, as he knew that Peter could not defeat all of them. The Venom symbiote was right in his calculations, as even though Peter fought a good fight, he was quickly overwhelmed. Using his mind, Symbiote Goblin commanded the soldiers to kill Peter with punches. This quickly left Peter with a swollen and bruised face, as his mask was destroyed by the amount of the beatings. While all this was happening, Peter's life flashed in his eyes, and he could barely hear the scream of Mary Jane in the background. Peter decided that he would die at that moment, and he was sad because he knew he could not face Aunt May without avenging her death. As Peter was nearing death, he felt the entire symbiote super soldiers suddenly being lifted off of him. Peter also felt a gust of sand. When Parker opened his eyes, he saw that Flint Marko was aiding him in fending off the symbiote super soldiers. Flint Marko had seen the news about Symbiote Goblin, and he decided that he must help Spider-Man. He figured that it was the least he could do for them. Sparing his life, Flint Marko had gone to the scene of the crime, and he immediately sprang into action. As he saw that Peter was in dire condition, Flint had immediately turned into a sand tornado, and he swept away all of the soldiers. Flint continued spiraling as he started detaching parts of the soldiers in order to destroy them. Symbiote Goblin did not expect this, and it distracted him as Parker used this opportunity to swing over and release Harry. Venom quickly caught on, and he controlled his glider to fly and pierce Harry's back. Peter saw the glider coming, and he jumped in to intercept it. This was Symbiote Goblin's plan all along, as he knew that Peter would step in to save Harry Osborn. This caused the blade to pierce Peter's heart. Peter was surrounded by Harry and Mary Jane, as they could not believe their eyes. Peter was struggling to say some words, but he was choking on his own blood. Peter looked at Harry as Harry looked back at Peter, having flashbacks of the wrestling match, having flashbacks of when Harry had left, having flashbacks of when Peter and Harry had originally gotten bit by the spider. Everything that they had done led up to that moment. Peter looked on, and he looked at how proud he was of the Silver Spider and his friend. Within moments, Peter was dead. When Peter died, all of the emotional attachment that Harry had for his father died too. Harry knew what could kill the symbiote, because he had studied his father's notes before he was knocked out by the Symbiote Goblin. It was as if Norman had intentionally left the information openly. Harry saw that high sound frequencies and fire could destroy the symbiote, and that was what he used. He immediately told Mary Jane to stay safe as he tackled Venom off of a building through some electrical wires. Venom had extraordinary regenerative powers, and Harry knew that he could not destroy him ordinarily. Harry then used the still sparking electrical wires and connected it to Venom. This caused the Venom symbiote to howl in agony. As the Symbiote Goblin screamed, Harry saw his father's face, but he could not see any resemblance of Norman there. Harry could only see a monster. Harry quickly plunged off a pumpkin bomb from Norman's body and threw it into Venom's mouth. Harry then proceeded to punch him in the face multiple times and swiftly kicked him off of the roof of the building. No atoms of Symbiote Goblin, and Norman landed on the ground as the pumpkin bomb had completely disintegrated them. Location: Peter and Aunt May's funeral, 9 a.m. Harry was at Peter and Aunt May's burial with both Uncle Ben and Mary Jane. They had shed their part of tears and they could not cry anymore. They could still not believe that Peter Parker was really gone. Flint Marko was even at attendance as Harry had come clean to him During the funeral, Harry's co-science was eating him up, and after the event, he could not hold it anymore. After the funeral, Harry immediately told Uncle Ben everything. He told him about how Peter was Spider-Man, and about the ordeal. Uncle Ben just stayed still and listened to all that Harry had to say. Once Harry had finished telling Uncle Ben everything, he stayed still and motionless for a few moments as he was processing the information. After that, Uncle Ben wept his heart out, even as he hugged Harry Osborn. From that day on, Harry Osborn would take up the mantle of the Silver Spider, and he would continue being Spider-Man for Peter's sake. He didn't want to let down Peter and the mantle of Spider-Man, and so from that day on would become Silver Spider, and he would be there for the city, and he would be there for Uncle Ben. And that is going to be what if Peter and Harry had gotten bit by the radioactive spider in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Now, what did you think of the finale? What did you think of, Peter and Harry's journey? Do you think that it's really over? I do want to say we still got a lot to cover within these universes, and maybe within this universe. Could the story really be over yet? I don't want to say no, and I don't want to say yes, but there will be plans to bring back this version of Silver Spider, and maybe a huge crossover event that might be coming soon to the channel. But I do want to say thank you so much for tuning in for this complete storyline, like all 5 parts. I do want to say thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me, and I'm really glad that I implemented the super soldiers, because that was something that I really wanted to do, as we all know that Norman Osborn was planning on using the glider in the suit to have this brought out for, military purposes. And I think it was very interesting to have, the symbiote play a part in that business role and really showcase, the future of that technology and what could have happened. We would have gotten an army of symbiotes as well as goblin enhanced serums with that. So I think it was very interesting. Again, I do want to say thank you so much for tuning in. There will be a complete story later this month. I do want to say I don't know when it's going to come out. But if you guys do want to support the channel, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. I do want to say, starting right now on Patreon, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's starting at just $1 a month, and it really goes a long way to help the channel out and expand. And I think, starting at just $1 a month, you get a lot, and you get a ton of updates, as well as exclusive videos and content. So, what are you waiting for? Do make sure to check out the link in the description down below to sign up if you would like to. How did you think of the ending? Did you guys enjoy it? And what do you think is there for Silver Spider? Do you think there's still a story to be told with Harry Osborn as Spider-Man within this universe? Do you think Peter is really dead, or do you think that it could be a ploy? That being said, I'll let you think about these questions, and thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, my fellow watchers, and have a fantastic day. Peace out.